Understanding your emotional battlefield before you engage. Why emotional intelligence is your first line of defense in romantic warfare. Opening reflection. Before you ever say the first word, before you confess your attraction, take your stand, or make your move, there is an invisible terrain already shaping the outcome, not outside you, but within. It is your emotional battlefield, the inner patterns, the core wounds, the beliefs you carry into love like weapons or shields. If you don't know this terrain, you're not stepping into connection, you're stepping into combat, blindfolded, and more often than not, you'll start losing ground before you realize you're even at war. This episode is not about tactics for winning someone over. It's about understanding the war within yourself before you try to win anything at all. Let's begin. What is the emotional battlefield? 1. The emotional battlefield is the psychological and energetic terrain inside you. It's shaped by your past experiences, unresolved pain, attachment patterns, beliefs about love, and your emotional regulation skills. Every time you interact romantically, you're not just speaking to another person. You're also speaking to the ghosts of your past. Your inner battlefield determines how you interpret what they say, how quickly you escalate, how long you hold back, and how much clarity or distortion enters the field. If you don't know your emotional terrain, you will mistake fear for intuition, trauma for chemistry, and control for strength. 2. Imagine two armies preparing to face each other. One knows the land well, every slope, every hiding place, every weak spot. The other stumbles into unfamiliar terrain with confidence, but no map. Now realize, that's what most people do in love. They prepare with charm, with ambition, with timing, but they don't understand the terrain of their own emotions, so they walk into a relationship like it's neutral territory, when in fact it's full of landmines they laid themselves years ago. Why you must map it first. 3. Before you text them back, before you confess your interest, before you decide what's meant to be, you need to map your battlefield, because every romantic dynamic will provoke something in you. The question is, will it provoke unconscious reactivity or conscious response? If you don't know what you're carrying, you won't know what's yours versus what's theirs. And that is the root of most unnecessary conflict in love. You'll accuse someone of being avoidant, when in fact you're projecting abandonment. You'll assume they're manipulating, when in fact they're just scared. Or worse, you'll interpret emotional neutrality as love because it feels safer than desire. Without a map of your emotional battlefield, you will sabotage peace and call it protection. 4. This isn't just about inner work, it's about strategic awareness. Sun Tzu said, "If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. If you know yourself but not the enemy, for every victory gained you will also suffer a defeat. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle." Now replace enemy with emotional trigger. Know your trigger and know yourself, and love becomes navigable. Know yourself but not your trigger, and you'll get ambushed. Know neither, and you'll mistake every romantic moment for a threat or a promise. This is the cost of emotional unawareness in modern dating. 3. What you must identify before you engage. 5. There are 4 core elements to identify before you emotionally engage. 1. Your emotional blueprint. 2. Your protective reflexes. 3. Your internal hierarchy of needs. 4. Your unresolved romantic wounds. Let's take each one. 6. Emotional blueprint. Your emotional blueprint is your pattern of how you attach, interpret, and respond in romantic tension. It includes your attachment style, your core beliefs about love, and how you perceive attention, rejection, and vulnerability. Examples of blueprint questions. Do you equate attention with value? Do you pull away when intimacy deepens? Do you tend to idealize or devalue? Do you expect conflict or smooth connection? Most people walk into love with a blueprint that was built unconsciously in childhood and reinforced through teenage romance. If you don't examine it, you'll keep choosing the same dynamic and calling it fate. 7. Protective reflexes. Your protective reflex is the default move you make when you feel unsafe emotionally. Some people attack, some people detach, some people please, some people retreat into silence or coldness. You must ask yourself, when I feel insecure in love, do I punish or disappear? Do I give more or take control? What do I do when someone threatens my sense of emotional power? Knowing your reflex gives you back your agency. Without this, love becomes a series of defense mechanisms disguised as personality. 8. Internal hierarchy of needs. Every person walks into romance with a layered set of priorities. Some value emotional safety above all. Others seek excitement. Some prioritize growth. Others need stability. Some need admiration, while others need presence. If your top priority is closeness and theirs is autonomy, you may interpret their need for space as rejection. If you don't know your hierarchy, you'll compromise the wrong things or over-assert the wrong ones. Strategic compatibility requires mutual understanding of these layers. Unresolved romantic wounds. This is the hardest to admit, but often the most decisive. What you haven't fully metabolized will shape how you react to someone new. It will show up in overreactions, in hesitations, in the way you interpret tone or silence. Sometimes you're not being ghosted, you're being guided toward your wound. And if you don't know what that wound is, you'll bleed into the next connection, thinking it's theirs. 4. The battle before the battle. 10. The greatest romantic strategist doesn't just read the other person, they read themselves. And they do it before they make a move. They don't just ask, do I like them? They ask, what part of me is being activated by them? Is this person awakening your clarity or your craving? Are you drawn to their presence or to the fantasy they fulfill? Are you connecting from truth or loneliness? You must win this inner battle before you ever speak your first line. Emotional intelligence is not just soft skill, it's tactical superiority. Here's what emotional intelligence gives you: clarity in chaos, the ability to pause when others react, precision when others generalize, and leverage in moments where others lose control. It lets you move without escalation, connect without collapse, and disengage without drama. It is the strategic equivalent of high ground in war. It gives you options where others only see threats, common patterns that signal emotional fog. Let's name a few tactical blind spots so you can identify them quickly in your own battlefield. Premature intensity, mistaking emotional chaos for connection. Echoed narratives, projecting an ex's pattern onto a new person. Delayed awareness, only realizing your needs after they've been crossed. Unstable strategy, saying you want one thing but acting like you want another. Emotional time travel, responding to a current person as if they were someone from your past. Each of these patterns is a sign that you haven't surveyed the terrain. They don't make you weak, they make you unaware. But the moment you name them, the fog begins to lift. Calm is the greatest position of power. 13. The calmest person in the room often holds the most power. Not because they are cold, but because they are clear. Clarity lets you pace a connection rather than rush. Clarity lets you pause before responding. Clarity lets you see, this isn't rejection, this is misalignment, or this isn't intimacy, this is adrenaline. Emotional calm is not indifference, it's control. And control in romance is not about domination, it's about direction. Clarity lets you disengage without shame. Sometimes you'll realize the terrain isn't worth crossing, that your inner world would be distorted just to reach theirs. And sometimes that is the most strategic move you can make, to hold your ground and let them fade. Not every battlefield deserves a soldier, and not every romantic opening deserves your vulnerability. The power is in knowing the difference. Closing insight. Before you engage, map the terrain. Don't walk into love hoping for peace. Walk in knowing your own landscape. Because you can't form a healthy connection from a place of unconscious confusion. And you can't navigate love if you don't understand where your triggers end and your truth begins. The emotional battlefield is not your enemy. It's your mirror. Study it, learn it, and let it shape your choices with clarity, not fear. Because when you understand your emotional battlefield, you don't just win at love, you rise above the war. If this episode helped you see yourself or your patterns more clearly, subscribe to Strategic Intimacy for more content like this. We're not here to game the system. We're here to understand it with heart. Next episode preview. In our next exploration, we'll dissect the difference between a crush and a campaign, why fleeting chemistry often masquerades as destiny, and how to recognize whether you're in a real strategy or just in a spiral.